This is the Outdoor Journey Show, where life takes you outdoors. The Outdoor Journey Show with Matt Gaddis and Ty Morgan, brought to you by Journey Hunts and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation.
Welcome back to the Outdoor Journey Show. Matt Gaddis, Ty Morgan. I'm very anxious to hear the rest of the story about this cow elk hunt. And today we're talking about cow hunt and conservation, which in the first segment we talked about, the reasons why this has to happen because of the mere fact that if we don't do conservation like the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation does and the Mule Deer Associations and all these, Turkey Federation, I mean, you got them all, that are there for those reasons. We could have a big problem on our hands.
Oh, absolutely. And the animals that we so love, and even the animals that the anti-hunters love, a lot of times they're not clued into the fact that if that is not managed by hunting, those animals will cease to exist. There will be disease and there will be big die-offs. There will be a lot of damage that'll be done. So the hunters really carry the torch of conservation and taking care of those species. So it's important.
Pretty amazing.
It really is.
Pretty amazing. All right, so the rest of the story. All right, let's catch everybody up. If you are just tuning in the first part, we had an opportunity at 2 elk. We get one down, found it easy. It was the second one that jumped up and started to run, but you had to get down for a church service.
Right.
So we were under a time crunch. So let's pick up from there.
Right. So we get that first elk in, the one that I shot. We get it quartered and in 45 minutes, record time for us. And we get it in. We go down, do our church service, and now it's snowing. Mm-hmm. And so we made a choice. It was only 30 degrees up there when we left, so we came back. It was in the 20s. Mm-hmm. I said, you know what? That elk jumped up. Last thing we want to do is chase it and jump it up again at night. So we decided to wait for the morning. Mm-hmm. So first light, we get up, and we decide, let's go out and track this elk. So we start tracking the elk. We marked where we knew exactly where we were, where we left off the trail. So we walk right back to it, and there was enough snow that it filled some of the hoof marks, some of the travel route, and covered some of the blood, but there was still enough that we could see. So thankfully, we were okay. So we got back on the trail and start tracking that elk, and it had only gone another 100 yards. And we come through some cedar trees, and there it was laying underneath. The interesting thing is that the elk was not very stiff. So thankfully we didn't go back out because we probably would have jumped it up again. Mm-hmm. And so it had died maybe an hour to 2 hours prior to us getting there.
Oh, okay.
So not a great scenario necessarily for the animal, because it was wounded, for quite a long time. But it did die, and again, it became table fare for us. So now this trip out, I had Toccoa, Bailey, and Hollis. So all of us were out there and made it exciting again to share an experience like this. So we get out there. We have a little bit more time to work. We're not under the gun. And so we, again, quarter that animal out because it's about, at this point, we're probably a half mile from the house. And so we quarter that animal out all together, work on it together. And again, there's so much that you learn through that process.
Sure.
Anatomy, with my kids being able to say, look at the way the shoulder, a front quarter is very interesting. It's not attached bone to bone. Mm-hmm. It's held together by muscle and by ligaments. It's not bone to bone. And so when you're quartering that off and you take that front shoulder, it's very interesting because you make a cut through the meat and that front shoulder comes off completely. Mm-hmm. There is no socket. Like in our shoulder, there is no ball and joint. And so it's just a really neat situation. And again, they're learning as we're doing this stuff. So we get Toccoa again, did the front quarters and took care of the front quarters, which is part of his learning, and working through the whole process of how do we do this.
Right.
And so we get the front quarters off. We get both hind quarters out. We do what's called an Alaskan style approach to our animals now in the West because you're usually back in. You're not going to move an entire elk. It's just not going to happen. And so we do a no-gut Alaskan quarter. And you take those 4 quarters off, and you never actually open up the entrail area of the animal. You don't have to. And so it's pretty neat. You get your quarters off. You can get your back straps. You can still get all your neck meat. You can even get your inside loins, which is the tenderloin or is the filet mignon, as we know it.
Right.
And you even get those by going in through the ribs. And so this whole process, which took us about an hour, we were taking our time, really working through it, but it's an anatomy lesson. I mean, it's good for kids to know, and it's also awesome to see God's creation and the way he designed things. So it's a cool scenario. So we get that all done, find the elk, and now it's snowing like crazy.
Oh, boy.
And so I wanted to I got a new, one of my sponsors for Journey Hunts is Tenzing, and they make great backpacks, great carrying cases, for all kinds of outdoor activities. And so one of their new backpacks is called the CF13. and it's a new concept. It's a regular backpack in the aspect of you have 2,000 cubic inches of space in the main pouch so that you can use it as an everyday backpack while I'm hunting, and I do.
Right.
But it has a carbon fiber frame that is super lightweight and super strong. And so I had not yet to this point put a load onto this backpack. And so we had our camera out there, and Hollis loves filming, and so she's doing some filming, and we're walking through this backpack. So we get this thing quartered, and I decided since we were all back there, I was going to take a hind quarter and a front quarter and load it, which is a heavy load from it was a big cow elk. It's a heavy load, and we loaded it onto this Tenzing CF13 pack, really putting it to the test. And then Bailey had a quarter, a front quarter, and Tekoa took a hind quarter, and then we kind of rotated with the back straps carrying those out. So here we are, Team Gatus, all loaded up, in the middle of our journey. But the load put on this Tenzing backpack was just immense. I mean, I don't have the weight, of it, but it was well in excess of 100 pounds. And because we didn't debone it, we didn't have to. It wasn't that long of a walk out. And so we put that load on that Tenzing pack, and I've used a lot of different backpacks to pack out elk. I've got to tell you, the way that this thing has a great hip and waist strap, the shoulder straps and a chest strap, the weight was so evenly distributed on this thing. It felt that's a heavy load for me. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. And it felt great carrying that out. I mean, the weight was distributed, the way that pack handled that. And so for our listeners, if you're looking for a serious pack and you do a lot of backcountry stuff, you definitely want to look at this CF13 by Tenzing. It's an incredible pack.
Pretty amazing.
So we get that back to the house, and we're all coming out, and it's snow. So we're covered in snow, coming out. And it's funny because Kelly's at the porch waiting for us to come out. And we're just coming out, all in line, bringing this elk out. So we got the elk all to the house. And again, for us, it's hunting conservation. It's providing meat for our family. And it's also an activity that we've enjoyed together. I mean, what better can you do at this time of year than spend time together with your family, doing things you love to do?
Absolutely. Well, and it's kind of funny. We were talking with another gentleman. He's also a pastor, and he says, whenever you can give a gift, give the gift of presence and different kind of presence, but being present. And so having an opportunity to be around family, there's no iPhones, there's no TV. Being out in the wild, allows for that connection of family members, like no other.
I agree.
So that is probably one of the biggest advantages. It allows you to be a mentor, a father, and then you have sons and daughters, that, have an opportunity to learn and grow all together as a family.
Right. And I've always been open with them, whether they want to hunt or not. It's never been a forced thing. If you want to do it, we're going to do it. I think a lot of times our children follow in our footsteps. They naturally want to do the things we do. But the cool thing that we do is, like, we shot a spot yesterday while we were out there, doing that second elk. We shot a spot for this backpack. They're Tenzing's a great sponsor of ours. So we shot a video spot, and Hollis is doing the video work, filming it. Bailey puts it all together, and builds the actual promo video that we did. And so they're also learning and being educated in social media, being educated in promotional videos, being educated in software. So it's a whole process for us.
Sure.
And it's a neat opportunity.
Pretty amazing.
It really is.
Sounds like an exciting trip.
It is. And now we're back to our main premise of this whole show is, our title sponsor, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, is all about hunting conservation.
Right.
I mean, they really are. And through, they do many things. They preserve current land. They obtain more land. They're constantly doing that. They do conservation easements, which obtains more land or the right to more land or a pass through to public land. They do all those things, and then they manage the elk numbers. And the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is serious about providing a future for those that want to enjoy the outdoors, not only hunting, but want to use that land for all outdoor activities and enjoyment. So it's a key factor. It
Absolutely.
Really is.
Now, for the new hunter out there that maybe is just starting out, ways to get involved, especially from the youth all the way up to missed out on an elk tag. Are there opportunities?
Yeah, there are. Every year there's leftover elk tags, and especially cow tags. You have to go in, right, like this next season for 2015, our deadline is March 25th to apply for tags, I believe, in the state of Colorado. And so you go in and you apply for tags. That's not an essential factor if you're going to hunt elk, because there's a lot of over-the-counter tags. However, for cow elk, it's almost always a draw. And so what you do is you can put in for a draw and try for a cow elk, and I suggest that you do that because it's a greater opportunity of harvest and opportunity to put meat on the table. Yeah. But if you don't, there's leftover tags. And they come out in June, some point in June, and you can go in there and look at leftover tags. A lot of them are private land only. And so that does limit you. But if you're youth and you want to get your youth into it, most ranchers in this area of the Western Slope are more than open to letting youth hunt, so there's a lot of opportunity.
Well, and I think you can also link up with, the Department of Wildlife would help guide you as well, but Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Mule Deer Association, these groups all help coordinate youth hunts, and those are great, organizations that can help you get your kids involved as well.
Yeah, and there's a ton of opportunity. If you want opportunity, it's there. There's no doubt about it. A lot of opportunity. So
always good stuff, and of course, it's been a great show, and congratulations on the successful hunt, and next year I want to go with you.
We're going.
Next year I want to be there in your field. I want to be
awesome.
There,
we'll
hanging
do it.
out with you.
We'll do it.
It'll be a lot of fun. Well, on behalf of all of us here at the Outdoor Journey Show, it's been a great year as we go into the new year, and we have more great shows. If ever you have a question, as we mentioned before, you can email Matt a suggestion for a show or just a question on different kinds of hunts that we've talked about or how you can get involved. You can email Matt at JourneyHunts.com and feel free to ask. And, of course, if we read your email here on the show, you get a free Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation knife. So
yeah, nice one at that.
Pretty exciting. So it has been the Outdoor Journey Show, where life takes you outdoors.
This is the Outdoor Journey Show, where life takes you outdoors.